your mobile application be the next star. I have it here on slide, but a few examples will be much more clear. You can integrate stuff, you can create an API, you can do mashups. I will give you some examples. The first example is from Liquid. He's still around, yeah. This is his layer. They should do something about that. Okay, so it's a layer in layer, and it allows you to see all the bicycle tracks. Very nice. They didn't have to write an application, or he didn't have to write an application, and yet all the content is available. I never heard about this initiative or these people or about these bicycle tracks until I installed Layer. So they would never have gotten me as an audience. We did have the most fantastic app. Now they have me, and they didn't even have to make the app. That's wonderful. That's smart. Another example is the application from Michael, who is here displaying how you can get around in Brussels using the SDB or MEDB public transportation. Well, he started the application using only what was available on the website. And then luckily enough, the transportation company was smart enough to allow this to him, and you can make an arrangement with him that he could continue working on this. So by opening up their data, they actually come up with a whole new application. And of course, in the end, it's also a professionally made application, but start by data that's available somewhere and that can be used by someone else. This is an example of an application I use a lot, but it's not a classical application in the way most people think about it. This Flickroid is just a plugin for my camera app. I cannot start it up by itself. It doesn't have a UI by itself. I cannot organize my pictures in it or whatever. It's just when I have taken a picture, it shows up amongst the native possibilities here, and when I push it, I can upload my picture and we even provide a nice integration mashup. It's more good to say with Twitter, because they also publish it to Twitter at the same time. So that's a nice example of an application that doesn't follow the classical model. An even smarter thing to do is what Nike does, and they open up the data of their Nike Plus running aggregation system. In this way, other people can make applications for Nike. Nike doesn't have to do any of the work, and they can just make it available, and the more apps there are, the more exposure. That's also a very valid option when you have a company that wants to spend some money on mobile. Why don't we spend some money on making a few nice APIs? Maybe they have some intelligent data. I drove around yesterday for several hours to find a present. Tomorrow it's Mother's Day. Because I drove around yesterday to find a present for Mother's Day, and I had to drive to 10 different stores or something. Wouldn't it be nice if those stores were all from the same chain? Just, I'm not going to give away what the present is, of course, otherwise it will be on the internet. Be careful. If those stores would have just had an API that allowed me to check what products were available in what stores, they wouldn't have to do anything about it. The data is there, and I'm sure someone would have made an application out of it. So that's very nice, just opening up your data and investing in that. Sometimes much better than investing in making the app itself. And to end my presentation with, I also have an example from our own company, Mobile Vikings. This happened a bit by accident because we didn't have the resources to develop mobile applications. So we said, why don't we make it together with someone who does, how you call it, does an internship. So they come and work with you for a few weeks and they learn stuff and you don't need to pay them. But we didn't trust that guy. So actually we said, well, why don't we make an API like he's an outsider? Otherwise, yeah, who knows what he will do to our software, code-based database, whatever. So we made an API, and he started to make his iPhone app. We said, hey, this is really cool. He's continuing to work on the app even after he left us. And we just, all you have to do is make sure the API is scalable and maintainable and secure. And okay, in the end, that proved to be all out of work. But this is the model we've chosen, and we're trying to expand upon this to see everything what we do. How can we open it up through an API so others can make applications out of it? So this is an example of your credit as a master data overview as a widget on an Android phone. Yeah, I only have my phone available for the presentation, so it's all Android screenshot. You can have call history, of course, only by users' voice history. This also learned us how important throttling is, that you need to make sure, yeah, don't have to, that you make sure your users don't pull down your database or make sure your service doesn't get into trouble. We also have another application, the Samsung one I told you about. This guy is now using an unauthenticated access proxy to our authenticated access. In the end, causing the passwords of our users that can cause them to go money from their bank accounts, going in clear text through the app. Not so good. So we're thinking about different models, like the model there. We'll definitely adopt that one. So it's not so easy to make this, to do this in a good way, this API stuff, but it makes it worthwhile to think about it, to open it up, and to really invest money in that. And for us, I think we better even invest more money in the API instead of now trying to come up with new functionality ourselves that we then need to duplicate on all the different platforms. So for us, this is really the way to go. Yeah, we already have a few platforms supported now. Today I learned that someone is already making. The other who probably forgot his name. Ah, no, you are here. What's your name actually? Christophe. But Christophe is already making a new version of the widget that allows you to also integrate with the calls you make in the application, really, with your phone. So it's really a nice phone integration. So this is really taken further and further, and we can only encourage that. A simple example is some companies hide their artwork on their website. Well, why would we? I mean, we just put everything up that we have. It isn't much that we have yet, but when we get more, we will definitely put everything online, because when they create something for you, why don't you just give them the right tools? So this basically was what I had to say, a few rules and things I think you should keep in mind when developing for mobile. Just to sum it up, think of the context of the user, think what matters to them, not to you. Apps are not always needed, so unless you're a startup, it's one big app. And you keep an eye on multi-platform possibilities, because there's definitely also this cross-compiler tool, etc. It can become very interesting. Never start with specs, always start with paper. Share it and create it, and make sure you go after it in advertising. So this was what I had to say. Thank you. I hope there are no questions, because you're much smarter than I am.
Well, one thing that still causes friction with mobile apps is that a lot of times you have to fill out a password in this app to get access to your own account, to your own data. And that's not good. I mean, that's not useful on a tiny platform. So what I was wondering about, and I'm not sure whether people are doing this, but you mentioned OAuth. Using OAuth, you can actually pre-configure your download. You can, so for example, you can fill out, if you're logged in the application and the website, you fill out your phone number, and then you get an SMS sent to you with a download link. And what you download is an application with a token in it, so you don't have to authenticate anymore. Or you can find ways that if you have your mobile phone and the application open at the same time, that the application on the website gives you just a small a token like a PIN that you can use for a few minutes, and then it's timed out. But that's a lot easier to configure that widget or app you just installed. It won't be. I mean, if you use a PIN, for example, I don't think you can pre-configure your application, but then you can still use the PIN. So depending on the context, you might find ways to make that frictionless. Yeah. In fact, this is an idea I got after the last Mobilecamp Brussels 3 years ago, and I never shared it with you. But I think it was applicable for Go.
Yeah. Well, I completely agree with what you say. I mean, the problem is definitely that there's no one today sitting between the user and the app developer and the data developer that can provide, let's say, authentication as an external party. And by putting OAuth as a mechanism in there, you really do that, and you really make sure that the user doesn't need to give his credentials of the data store to the application developer, because that's plain wrong, and that's what's happening today, also in our applications. So I completely agree with you. This is definitely the way forward, and we haven't done it because it was easier not to do it, just to start with what we had today. Just out of laziness, actually. But also you have to consider it takes a step to learn this technology. So if you just have your